I could have a cod and chips, please. Fish and chips is one of the most beloved dishes in the UK. But thanks to Brexit, British fishermen may end up catching less of the species, cod and haddock, that are most popular in it.
Would you like a piece of lemon for the fish?
Yes, please. And there you go, fish and chips, one of the finest creations in British cooking. Cheers. Now, because of the Brexit deal, British fishermen are going to be able to catch more fish, which is good for them on the face of it.
In just 5 years' time, 5.5 years' time, we will have access to all the fish in all of our coastal waters. And before then, from now, as I talk to you today, we have access to 25% more than we did a month ago.
Problem is that the extra fish that they're going to be able to catch aren't necessarily those that British people want to eat. They're species like herring and mackerel, which British people don't really like. We tend to export most of those. One of the key parts of the original EU framework for fishing quotas is no longer there, something called quota swapping. Quota swapping essentially allowed a fishing boat from one nation to swap its quota for a certain type of fish for that of a boat of another nation. So if you're a British fisherman who wants to catch more cod and you've got extra quota for mackerel, you could swap that quota with another nation. There is negotiations going on to try and make another mechanism which is kind of like this, but a lot of fishermen are worried that it won't be the same and just won't offer the same level of flexibility as the old one. The result is that British fishermen may end up being able to catch less of those favourite species, cod and haddock, that go in fish and chips than they could before when we were still in the EU.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with the Brexit deal at all. It doesn't help us in this sector. No doubt, the bigger picture that we don't know about, it's probably possibly better for the UK. But we were on a promise. We were told everything gets sorted, and it hasn't been. We've been let down yet again by the government.
Something interesting about the way the UK seafood diet works is that we actually don't tend to eat that much of the fish that we catch. We really like cod and haddock, but very little else. So we export all of the fish that we don't like that we catch to Europe. So we're very dependent on being able to sell to the continent. Since we left the European Union, what has become apparent is there are a lot of what we would describe as non-tariff barriers to exporting. You need to have the correct paperwork and make sure your entire shipment is to a certain specification before it can even leave. Now, a lot of people have been tripped up by those barriers and are now struggling to export. We've heard reports of fishing shipments being stuck at customs stations for days. Those are, of course, perishable shipments, so there is a chance that fish could just be sitting there in a truck rotting because it just can't get clearance. There's software issues, issues with the paperwork, things like that. Now, to get around that, a lot of British fishermen are now starting to land their fish into European ports, like in Denmark, for example. Now, the problem with that is that that means they never come to the UK and never visit the UK processing sector, which is also quite a significant part of the UK fishing economy. That then takes a hit.
Of course we're going to compensate and to help out, and funds have been put in place to do that. But be in no doubt, Nick, that there are great opportunities for fishermen across the whole of the UK.
Now, in the future, hopefully some of these non-tariff barriers will become less significant once people get used to the new export regime. Also, we're out of the common fisheries policy, where the European Union would in effect tell nation states what they could and couldn't do with their fisheries. That led to a lot of regulations that were hated not only by British fishermen, but fishermen across the continent. The UK is no longer subject to that, so they can start redesigning their own policy.